Hello everyone, I'm Benjamin Vidal from Corpus Christi Catholic High School, and today I'll be showing you my MDP. I do apologize for my voice. I am sick at the moment, so wasn't able to record this video any sooner, but again I apologize. But my MDP is this. I have created a comic, which is a superhero comic series about this guy called on the front cover called Superglue, and the main antagonist of the comic, Max Wax. The whole premise of my MDP with this comic is to make a comic with a weekly chapter based system where there are weekly chapters released each week, online exclusively, and then after a couple of those weekly chapters have been released, they get turned into a volume like this one. One of the key details with my comic as well is to make it more unique. I made sure to print it in a smaller size, so it's not a typical A4 size. It is in A2, so it is a bit smaller, but everything is still clear and readable. If I open the book a bit, one of the key features that I chose was having the cover and the back printed in colour, and then on the inside I used black and white. One of the main reasons is because I wanted it to be sort of serious, but at the same time I want to have a bit of fun. The characters are designed quite uniquely, so having that black and white and other greys really distinguished the comic, and I really thought it brought out that serious tone as well as kept it fun and enjoyable. Other than that, most of the things you can see, I have the prologue page, and then it jumps straight into chapter 1, and you can tell by the chapters as there's a big panel, and then it has chapter 1 as well as the title of the chapter at the top, and basically foreshadowing what the events. But most chapters range from either about 5 to 7 pages, depending on how much detail or what events partake. In chapter 2 I introduce the antagonist, and from there I develop his character, and as well as how he interacts with the main character Superglue, and this is one of the key pages where you see him seeing him on the side of the building there. But this is a physical copy. I only have one of them just to show an example of what it would look like. The comic can be accessed physically like this with this one physical copy, as well as via a QR code, which I have here, which I will provide. It has the one for the physical comic itself, as well as the weekly chapter, which is just here. And if I scan that one, it'll bring up the actual comic itself, and it will let me essentially read both my comic that I have physically here, as well as the weekly chapter. So if I bring it up here, sorry if I have my phone in front of the screen, I'm just getting the thing up now. Okay, so if I bring up the QR code, I've just scanned it, now it's just load. It brings you to this page where it asks you to just view the PDF, and it has a little preview here, and if you just click that, it will essentially download the comic to your actual device and let you view the comic. So it asks to download it, and then, or it will let you view it on the web either, and then you have the weekly chapter here, which basically touches on basically where the comic left, which is here in chapter 5. We see them falling down from a building and plummeting through another building, and it basically comes back right in here where we see the same sort of pose here, and then they're just basically continuing it, as well as I showed a little visual showing how far they've travelled. And then it basically continues, and they crash through several floors of a building, and essentially they have another fight. We see a fight earlier in chapter 2 when they first meet, and now this is after the protagonist has gone through training in chapter 4 and come back to fight. And then at the ending I've also added, basically it's the end of the chapter, and we see him all beat up and stuck to the wall. If there were more weekly chapters to be released, that would essentially continue the story, and one of the main reasons I made the actual weekly chapter was essentially to build that suspense, build that like attention, like, oh, I want more of this. So like they read this and then they read the weekly chapter, or they just read this one and they don't realize, oh, in a week's time there's a weekly chapter coming out. It keeps them intrigued. That was one of the main points. I wanted to like have a comic and then like the weekly chapters would keep them coming back. But overall, my comic turned out really well, as well as the weekly chapter. The weekly chapter is a bit more polished than the comic. Like, it doesn't have as sort of like sketchy shadows and things like that. That was just a design choice for the comic, and I realized in my weekly I wanted to have a bit more solid colours. But overall, both of them turned out well, and I believe through my effort and my skills that I put into the comic, it turned out really well, and I'm glad it turned out this way. I do apologize for my voice once again, and I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you. To access my comic, this is the one you need to scan if you would like to read it. It provides the full entire first volume, and this one here is the weekly chapter if you'd like to read it. Thank you.